You set goals, you make plans, but somehow life gets in the way. No matter how badly you want to change, you keep falling into the same patterns: distractions, self-doubt, and mental exhaustion pulling you back. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow looks just like today. And then there are moments, brief flashes, where you feel like you're capable of so much more. You've seen glimpses of the man you could be, but something keeps you stuck. What if the problem isn't a lack of motivation? What if the real issue is that your mind has been conditioned to work against you? Your brain is powerful, more powerful than you realize. And here's the truth: it's not fixed. It can be trained, rewired, and strengthened. This process, known as neuroplasticity, is how you break free from mental barriers and achieve peak performance. The ancient Stoics understood this long before modern neuroscience confirmed it. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, knew that the mind is the only thing truly within our control. And when you master it, everything else changes. In this video, you'll discover how to train your mind, eliminate limiting beliefs, and build unshakable focus. You'll learn how to master your emotions, sharpen your cognitive abilities, and take full control of your reality. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could be the key to unlocking the limitless version of yourself. 1. Understanding your brain. Your mind is a battlefield. Every day, thoughts clash. Some push you forward, others hold you back. You want to be disciplined, but distractions pull you away. You want to stay focused, but old habits whisper that it's easier to quit. The truth? Your brain is not your enemy. It's a tool, one that can be trained, sharpened, and rewired. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new pathways and reprogram itself. Every thought, every action, and every choice reshapes the connections in your mind. The more you reinforce a thought, the stronger it becomes. The more you challenge a belief, the weaker its hold on you. This is why some people break free from self-doubt, while others stay trapped in cycles of hesitation. It's not luck, it's not fate, it's training. When you take control of your thoughts, you take control of your life. The Stoics understood this long before modern science gave it a name. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, the mind you cultivate determines the life you live. If your thoughts are chaotic, so is your world. If your thoughts are disciplined, so is your path. Imagine stepping into a dense forest. The trails are overgrown and difficult to navigate. Each step feels like resistance. But the more you walk the same path, the clearer it becomes. Soon, it's the easiest route. Your mind works the same way. The thoughts you repeat carve pathways. If you constantly feed yourself doubt, that becomes the road your brain takes by default. If you train yourself to focus, to persist, to challenge negativity, those pathways become your new reality. Think about when you learn something new, playing an instrument, speaking a new language, training in a sport. At first, it felt impossible. Your hands clumsy, your mind slow. But with practice, everything changed. Your brain adapted. The same principle applies to mental resilience. If you train yourself to think clearly and to challenge self-imposed limits, your mind will adjust. The problem is that most people never train their minds. They let old patterns dictate their lives. They assume that fear, doubt, and hesitation are permanent. They are not. They are habits, and habits can be broken. This is where Stoic discipline becomes the key to transformation. Epictetus taught that we are not disturbed by events, but by our interpretation of them. If you believe that struggle is proof of failure, your mind will confirm it. If you believe that struggle is part of progress, your brain will rewire itself to push forward. So how do you start training your mind? It begins with awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts. When negativity creeps in, don't let it control you. Observe it, question it, replace it. Every time you catch yourself saying, "I can't," shift it to, "I am learning." Every time you feel stuck, remind yourself, this is a chance to grow. Journaling is a powerful tool for this. Writing down your thoughts exposes patterns. It forces clarity. If you're not aware of your mental habits, you can't change them. And if you don't change them, they will control you. The mind is like a blade. Leave it untouched, and it dulls. Train it daily, and it becomes a weapon. You don't need to be at the mercy of self-doubt. You can rewire your mind, strengthen your focus, and sharpen your perception. The work isn't easy, but neither is staying the same. And once you start breaking those mental chains, the next step is eliminating the beliefs that have been limiting you for years. Because if your thoughts create your reality, then the wrong beliefs can be your greatest prison. 2. Eliminating limiting beliefs. There's a voice in your head that tells you what you can't do. It whispers that you're too old, too late, not good enough. It reminds you of every past failure, every missed opportunity, every time you've been told you weren't capable. You've heard it so many times that you've mistaken it for truth. But here's what most people never realize. Beliefs are not facts. They are programs, written by past experiences, repeated until they feel like reality. And the moment you challenge them, they begin to lose their grip. Your mind is wired for efficiency. It takes what you believe and finds ways to confirm it. If you think you're not smart enough, your brain filters the world to support that thought. If you believe success is out of reach, your actions will reflect that assumption. But when you change the belief, you change the way your mind processes the world. This is where people become trapped. They assume their limitations are real, instead of realizing they are choices, ones they can rewrite. A friend of mine once believed he was too old to start over. He had spent decades working jobs that didn't fulfill him. Sales had always interested him, but he convinced himself that younger, more experienced professionals would always have the advantage. He believed that at 40, reinvention was impossible. And so, for years, he stayed where he was, unhappy but convinced he had no other option. Then one day, something changed. He met a successful consultant who had started his career at 45. That one encounter shattered his belief. He realized his age wasn't the problem. His belief about it was. He started studying sales, refining his communication skills, and within 2 years, he became one of the top advisors in his field. He didn't get smarter overnight. He didn't gain experience in an instant. He simply stopped believing in his own limits. And you, what beliefs are holding you back? Maybe you've told yourself that you're too old to get in shape, too busy to learn something new, or too set in your ways to change. Maybe you've convinced yourself that you're just not wired for success, that some people are born with it and you're not one of them. But the truth is, the only thing separating you from the person you want to be is the story you keep telling yourself. The Stoics knew this well. Epictetus taught that we are not disturbed by events, but by the opinions we hold about them. If you see failure as proof that you're incapable, it will destroy you. But if you see failure as information, a tool for growth, then it becomes fuel. Imagine a heavy door locked in front of you. You assume it's impossible to open, so you never try. But the truth is, the door isn't locked at all. It's only closed. The moment you decide to push, it moves. That's how limiting beliefs work. They only hold power when you refuse to challenge them. Think about the last time you wanted something, but talked yourself out of it. Maybe it was a job opportunity. Maybe it was learning a new skill. Maybe it was speaking up for yourself in a situation where you stayed silent. And now ask yourself, was the limitation real, or was it just fear disguised as logic? This is why self-awareness is everything. If you don't recognize the beliefs shaping your actions, you'll keep repeating the same patterns. But if you start questioning them, truly questioning them, you'll find that most of them crumble under scrutiny. Here's what you do. Start writing them down. Every time you catch yourself saying, "I can't," put it on paper. Then ask yourself, is this a fact or just a belief? Find proof against it. If you think you're too old to start something new, research people who did. If you believe you're not naturally talented, remind yourself that skill is built through effort, not birthright. Your brain adapts to the story you tell it. If you keep feeding it limitations, it will find ways to make them true. But if you start feeding it possibilities, it will work just as hard to confirm those instead. Once you understand this, you'll never look at your thoughts the same way again. Because when you eliminate limiting beliefs, you're not just freeing your mind, you're unlocking your entire future. 3. Sharpening your focus. Your attention is currency. Every day, you either invest it wisely or waste it on distractions. The problem isn't that you lack discipline. It's that your mind has been trained to be scattered. You reach for your phone out of habit, jump from task to task without completing any, and by the end of the day, you wonder why nothing feels accomplished. Focus is not something you're born with. It's something you build. And in a world designed to steal your attention, mastering focus is an act of defiance. Your brain isn't meant to multitask. Every time you switch between tasks, you pay a cognitive price. The more you fragment your focus, the harder it becomes to enter deep work, the state where real progress happens. When you train your mind to stay locked in, to cut out distractions, you unlock a level of performance that few ever reach. The Stoics understood this long before technology made distraction an epidemic. Seneca wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." A mind constantly pulled in different directions accomplishes nothing. True power lies in presence, giving full attention to what matters and ignoring the noise. Imagine trying to cut through a thick rope with a dull knife. Every attempt is weak, ineffective. Now imagine a razor-sharp blade slicing through in one clean motion. That's the difference between a distracted mind and a trained one. Think about the last time you tried to complete something important, but kept checking your phone, responding to emails, or letting random thoughts pull you away. What should have taken an hour stretched into 3. Your mind wasn't weak. It was untrained. Now picture a different scenario. You sit down, eliminate distractions, and commit to one task with full intensity. No notifications, no mindless scrolling, just deep, uninterrupted work. An hour passes, and you've made more progress than you typically do in an entire afternoon. That's what trained focus feels like. Most people assume they can't focus because they're naturally wired that way. But focus isn't a trait, it's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows stronger the more you train it. The Stoics practiced mental discipline through voluntary discomfort. They challenged themselves to go without luxury, to fast, to endure hardship, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they knew that control over external temptations leads to control over the mind. Modern distractions are no different. If you don't actively train against them, they will control you. Every notification, every unnecessary email, every urge to check your phone is a battle. And every time you resist, you sharpen your focus. A friend of mine, a former athlete, struggled with focus after retiring from sports. On the field, his mind was sharp, no distractions, no second guessing. But in everyday life, his attention was scattered. He started projects but never finished them. He jumped between tasks, feeling busy but never truly productive. One day, he treated his work the way he had treated training. He scheduled focus blocks, one task at a time with no interruptions. He used a stopwatch, just as he did in practice, to track his deep work sessions. Within months, his productivity doubled. His mind, once restless, became razor-sharp again. And you, how often do you let distractions steal your time? When was the last time you truly focused on something without checking your phone, switching tabs, or letting your mind wander? Sharpening focus isn't about perfection. It's about training your mind to stay present. Start small, set a timer for 25 minutes, and commit to deep work. When distractions arise, notice them but don't engage. Bring your attention back. Do this daily, and your ability to focus will strengthen. Your attention is your most valuable resource. Letting it scatter weakens your mind, but training it gives you an edge that most people lack. And once your focus is sharpened, the next step is mastering your emotions. Because true mental strength isn't just about controlling attention, but also controlling how you respond to the world around you. 4. Mastering your emotions. Emotions are powerful. When controlled, they sharpen your mind, strengthen your relationships, and help you navigate life with clarity. When left unchecked, they cloud your judgment, make you reactive, and keep you trapped in regret. Most people believe emotions just happen, that anger, frustration, and stress are automatic responses. But that's not true. Emotions don't control you. You control how you respond to them. And the difference between those who succeed and those who struggle isn't intelligence, talent, or luck. It's emotional mastery. An older colleague once told me that mastering his emotions changed everything. Earlier in his career, he was quick to anger. If a deal went south, if a coworker frustrated him, if things didn't go as planned, his emotions took over. He spoke without thinking, burned bridges, and let stress drain his energy. He thought reacting was natural, that he couldn't change it. Then, he realized something. The most successful people around him weren't the smartest or the most aggressive. They were the ones who stayed calm under pressure. The ones who didn't let setbacks shake them. The ones who controlled their emotions instead of letting emotions control them. He started applying this to his own life. The next time he felt anger rising, he didn't react. He paused. He gave himself space before responding. Instead of letting frustration take over, he asked himself, is this worth my energy? He saw stress not as an enemy, but as a test. And over time, he became someone people looked up to. Not because he was perfect, but because he was in control. And now, think about yourself. How often have emotions led you to make a decision you regretted? Maybe you said something in anger that you later wished you could take back. Maybe stress made you abandon a goal you should have pushed through. Maybe fear held you back from taking an opportunity. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind is violent. The rain is relentless. Most people panic, trying to fight the storm, getting thrown around by it. But a Stoic stands firm. He doesn't try to control the storm. He controls himself. That's what emotional mastery looks like. You can't stop life from being unpredictable. You can't control how people treat you, but you can always control how you respond. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength comes from mastering your emotions, from refusing to let the external world dictate your internal state. Let's take another scenario, one where you are at the center. Picture a moment where you're under pressure. A disagreement with a coworker, a heated argument with a loved one, or a situation where someone disrespects you. Your first instinct is to react, maybe to snap back, to defend yourself, to prove a point. But before you do, pause. Instead of reacting emotionally, step outside the situation. Ask yourself, will this matter in a week, a month, a year? Most conflicts are temporary, but the damage caused by emotional outbursts lasts much longer. By controlling your response, you shift from being reactive to being strategic. The Stoics believed in practicing emotional control through deliberate exercises. Seneca suggested imagining the worst-case scenario so that when challenges arise, they feel smaller. Epictetus taught that nothing upsets us. It is our judgment about events that do. By training your mind to detach, you prevent emotions from making your decisions for you. So how do you practice this? Start with small moments. When stress builds up, focus on your breath before reacting. When anger rises, delay your response. When frustration hits, shift your perspective. Ask yourself, is this happening to me or for me? Every time you do this, you train yourself to remain unshaken, no matter the storm. And once you master your emotions, the next step is resilience. Because true strength isn't just about control, but about bouncing back when life tests you. 5. Bouncing back. Life doesn't break you. How you respond to life does. Some people hit setbacks and never recover. Others use them as fuel. The difference isn't luck, it's resilience, the ability to take a hit and keep moving forward. Most people fear failure because they think it's a reflection of who they are. But failure is feedback. It's information. It tells you what needs to improve. Without it, growth is impossible. The problem is that most people don't see failure this way. They see it as a stop sign when it's really just a detour. Resilience is what separates those who stay stuck from those who rise. And the good news? It's something you can train. Just like you train your muscles to handle heavier weights, you train your mind to handle setbacks. Every time you push through difficulty, you build mental strength. Every time you refuse to quit, you make it harder for failure to break you. The Stoics lived by this principle. Epictetus taught that suffering isn't caused by external events, but by how we interpret them. If you believe an obstacle is the end, it will be. If you believe it's a challenge to overcome, it becomes an opportunity. Think about a time you failed at something that mattered to you. Maybe a business deal collapsed. Maybe you invested time into something that didn't work out. Maybe you tried to change a habit but slipped back into old ways. You felt defeated. You questioned whether you were even capable. And then, you stopped trying. But what if you had kept going? What if instead of seeing failure as proof that you weren't good enough, you saw it as proof that you were getting stronger? Imagine falling into a deep pit. You have two choices. Stay there, convinced you'll never get out, or start climbing. It won't be easy. The walls are steep. The climb is slow, but with each movement you rise. With each struggle, you get closer to the top. That's how resilience works. Every setback is a chance to get stronger if you refuse to stay down. Now put yourself in this situation. You've set a big goal, something outside your comfort zone. Maybe it's starting a business. Maybe it's transforming your health. Maybe it's mastering a new skill. At first, progress feels great, but then something goes wrong. You miss a step, you hit resistance, you start doubting yourself. This is the moment that defines everything. Most people give up here. They convince themselves they weren't meant to succeed. But the truth is, this is where success begins. Because if you push through now, if you refuse to quit when it's hardest, you develop an unshakable mind. The Stoics trained for this by practicing voluntary discomfort, going without luxuries, exposing themselves to hardship on purpose, and preparing for the inevitable challenges of life. Why? Because if you learn to endure struggle in controlled situations, you become unstoppable when real adversity hits. So how do you build resilience in daily life? You start by embracing discomfort. When things get hard, remind yourself, this is training. When failure happens, step back and ask, what can I learn from this? When things don't go as planned, adapt instead of quitting. Most people avoid pain, and that's why they stay the same. But you are training your mind to become limitless. And once you develop resilience, the next step is making sure your mind has the fuel it needs to perform at its highest level. 6. Fueling your mind. Your brain is your greatest asset, but like any high-performance machine, it only works at its best when fueled correctly. Most people never think about what they feed their minds, both physically and mentally. They want mental clarity, but live on processed food. They want to be sharp, but sacrifice sleep. They expect their brain to function at peak levels while giving it the lowest quality fuel. Your mind is only as strong as what you give it. If you feed it poorly, it slows down. If you nourish it, it sharpens. And if you optimize it, you unlock levels of focus, resilience, and clarity that most people never reach. A friend of mine works in nutrition. She constantly reminds me that brain function is not just about discipline or training, it's also about biology. Your brain is an organ, and like any organ, it needs the right fuel to grow, repair, and function. She explained how omega-3 fatty acids support memory, how hydration impacts cognitive function, and how sugar and processed foods destroy mental clarity. It's not about perfection, it's about making choices that set you up for success. She told me about clients who struggled with brain fog, mood swings, and constant fatigue. They assumed it was just stress, but when they made small changes, cutting out processed foods, drinking more water, prioritizing sleep, their focus improved. Their energy stabilized. Their thinking became clearer. Most people treat food and sleep as optional, like they can power through on caffeine and willpower. But willpower fades. A well-fueled brain does not. Think about the last time you were exhausted but tried to push through. Your focus was weak, your patience was short, and your thinking was slow. No amount of motivation could fix it. Now think about a time you felt well-rested, hydrated, and clear-headed. Everything was easier. Decisions were faster. Stress was lower. Now imagine what would happen if you consistently optimized your brain's fuel. You'd perform better, think clearer, and respond to challenges with more control. Your ability to train your mind would multiply because your brain would be working for you, not against you. The Stoics valued balance and discipline in all things, including health. They understood that the body and mind were connected. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Take care of your mind, but also take care of your body." A strong mind needs a strong foundation. You can't master your emotions, sharpen your focus, or build resilience if your brain is constantly depleted. Imagine your mind as a warrior preparing for battle. If you arm it well, with good nutrition, proper sleep, and hydration, it fights with precision. But if you send it in weak, sleep-deprived, inflamed from poor diet, sluggish from dehydration, it struggles, reacts poorly, and loses control. Now put yourself in this situation. You wake up groggy, barely rested. You reach for coffee, skip breakfast, and grab whatever's fast. By mid-afternoon, your energy crashes. You can't focus. You're irritated. You blame stress, but the truth is, your mind never had a chance. Now picture a different version of yourself. You wake up after a full night's sleep. You drink water first thing and fuel your body with real food. Your energy is steady. Your mind is sharp. When challenges arise, you handle them with control. This is what a trained mind looks like. The Stoics practiced intentional living. They made conscious choices about what they consumed, whether it was food, information, or thoughts. They understood that what enters the mind and body determines what comes out. Junk in, junk out. Strength in, strength out. So how do you fuel your mind? Start small. Drink more water. Eat more real food, foods that existed before factories. Reduce sugar, processed junk, and anything that leaves you feeling sluggish. Prioritize sleep. Treat rest as part of your discipline, not a luxury. Your mind is your weapon. If you sharpen it, it will serve you. If you neglect it, it will fail you. The choice is always yours. 7. Creating your reality. Your mind is a lens. It doesn't just reflect the world, it shapes it. The way you think determines the reality you live in. If your mind is cluttered with doubt, negativity, and hesitation, your world will mirror that. If your thoughts are focused, intentional, and disciplined, your life will follow. Most people live as if they have no control over their thoughts. They assume that reality happens to them. Those circumstances dictate their mindset. But that's not true. Your thoughts create your actions create your habits, and your habits create your life. If you let your mind run on autopilot, filled with fears, distractions, and excuses, your future will be no different from your past. But if you train it, if you shape your thoughts with purpose, you can reshape everything. A friend of mine understood this better than most. He grew up in a family that believed success was out of reach. They thought that life was fixed, that ambition was dangerous, that security was the only goal worth pursuing. He carried these beliefs into adulthood without even realizing it. Every time he dreamed of something bigger, a voice in his head told him it wasn't possible. But one day, something changed. He started paying attention to his thoughts. He realized that every time he hesitated, it wasn't because of reality, it was because of what he believed about reality. He began replacing his self-doubt with deliberate affirmations. Instead of thinking, "I'm not the kind of person who succeeds," he started telling himself, "I am training myself for success." Instead of thinking, "This won't work for me," he started asking, "How can I make this work?" At first, it felt unnatural, but over time, his mindset shifted. He started seeing opportunities where he once saw obstacles. He started acting with confidence where he once hesitated. And before long, his life reflected his new way of thinking. Now, imagine yourself in a situation where you've been holding back. Maybe it's a career change you've been avoiding. Maybe it's a personal goal you've convinced yourself isn't realistic. Maybe it's a habit you know you need to break but haven't. What's stopping you? Is it reality, or is it the way you see reality? The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology confirmed it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." He knew that the way we think shapes the way we live. If we see life as a constant struggle, it becomes one. If we see challenges as opportunities, they transform. You can start shifting your reality today. First, pay attention to your thoughts. What patterns do you notice? Are they focused on solutions, or are they focused on problems? Are they filled with doubt, or are they filled with determination? Next, take control of your inner dialogue. Don't wait for your mind to naturally become more positive. Train it. When fear arises, challenge it. When hesitation appears, replace it with action. When self-doubt whispers, drown it out with certainty. Every morning, visualize yourself succeeding. See yourself executing with precision. Feel what it's like to achieve your goals. Your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. If you repeat these thoughts enough, your mind will start working toward them as if they are already true. The Stoics practiced this through mental rehearsal. They prepared their minds for hardship before it arrived. They imagined themselves facing challenges with strength, so that when real adversity came, they had already won the battle in their minds. This isn't about blind optimism. It's about rewiring your thoughts to align with the life you want. If you want clarity, think with clarity. If you want strength, train your mind for strength. If you want a different life, it starts with different thoughts. And once you learn to shape your reality, the next step is unlocking the creative force within you. Because a limitless mind isn't just disciplined, it's innovative. 8. Unleashing your potential. Creativity isn't something you either have or don't. It's not a gift reserved for artists or geniuses. It's a skill. one that can be trained, sharpened, and unleashed. Most people never tap into their full potential because they're trapped in routines that keep them thinking the same way. They follow the same habits, engage in the same conversations, and consume the same ideas. Over time, their minds become rigid, predictable, and resistant to change. But if you train your brain to see possibilities where others see limitations, if you cultivate curiosity instead of conformity, you unlock something most people never access: the ability to innovate, adapt, and think beyond the obvious. A man I know worked the same job for years. He was competent, reliable, respected, but he never challenged himself to think differently. He assumed creativity was for other people. Then one day, his company faced a major crisis. The usual solutions weren't working. He saw an opportunity, an unconventional idea no one had considered. Instead of dismissing it, he pursued it. That single idea saved the company millions and earned him a promotion. He wasn't suddenly more intelligent. He didn't gain new skills overnight. He simply changed the way he thought. He stopped assuming that solutions had to come from others and started trusting his own mind. And now, think about yourself. How often do you dismiss your own ideas before even testing them? How often do you stay silent in meetings, convinced that someone else has a better answer? How often do you ignore your intuition because it doesn't fit the usual way of doing things? Creativity isn't about painting or music. It's about problem solving. It's about seeing the connections that others miss. It's about training your brain to break patterns and explore new possibilities. The Stoics valued this deeply. They understood that wisdom wasn't about memorizing knowledge. It was about applying it in new ways. Seneca believed that no idea was truly new, only newly understood. He advised studying widely, thinking independently, and questioning assumptions. Imagine you're trying to navigate a dark forest. If you follow the same beaten path as everyone else, you'll never discover new ground. But if you dare to step off the path, to explore the unknown, you might find a faster route, a hidden shortcut, or a completely new perspective. Now place yourself in this scenario. You're at work, faced with a challenge. The standard approaches aren't working. Everyone around you is stuck in the same loop, repeating the same failed solutions. This is your moment. You have an idea, something different, something unconventional. Do you speak up? Do you trust your mind enough to break the pattern? Creativity is trained through action. The more you challenge yourself to think differently, the stronger your ability becomes. Start by asking better questions. Instead of thinking, "Why won't this work?" ask, "How could this work?" Instead of assuming there's only one solution, force yourself to find three. The Stoics practiced this by engaging with discomfort. They knew that the mind, like the body, grows stronger when pushed beyond its comfort zone. They forced themselves to rethink problems, to challenge old beliefs, and to seek out new perspectives. You can start today. Read something outside your usual interests. Learn a skill unrelated to your job. Have a conversation with someone who sees the world differently. Every time you expose yourself to new ideas, you expand your mental flexibility. Your potential isn't fixed. Your intelligence isn't set in stone. If you train your mind to think beyond limits, to challenge assumptions, to trust its own insights, you'll unlock a level of capability you never imagined. 9. The journey to limitless. Mastery is not a destination, it's a process, one that never truly ends. The most successful, disciplined, and resilient people understand this. Learning never stops. Growth never stops. The moment you believe you've arrived, you've already started declining. Most people reach a certain level in life and get comfortable. They stop pushing, stop questioning, stop learning. They assume they know enough, and from that moment on, their progress stalls. They let routine take over. They move through life on autopilot, and without realizing it, they start fading, not growing. But the mind, like the body, thrives when challenged. When you expose yourself to new knowledge, when you test your limits, when you break old patterns, you stay sharp. The brain is designed for expansion. The more you feed it, the more powerful it becomes. A friend of mine embodies this. He's always learning, always seeking new perspectives. He reads, listens, studies, not because he has to, but because he refuses to stagnate. He once told me, "The moment I think I know enough is the moment I stop being useful." And that mindset has taken him further than talent or intelligence ever could. I've seen people with natural talent who stop progressing because they think they've already reached their peak. And I've seen others with no special advantages who rise above everyone else simply because they never stop learning. The difference isn't ability, it's mindset. Now, put yourself in this scenario. You wake up tomorrow and decide to stop learning. No more books, no more new skills, no more curiosity. A year passes, you're exactly the same as you are today. 5 years pass, you haven't changed. 10 years pass. The world moves forward, but you've stayed still. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine dedicating yourself to growth. Imagine committing just 30 minutes a day to improving your mind. A year later, you're sharper, stronger, wiser. 5 years later, you're unrecognizable. 10 years later, you've built a mind that others admire. The Stoics believed in lifelong learning. Seneca wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." They understood that wisdom wasn't something you achieved, it was something you pursued every day for life. The question is, how do you train this mindset? First, adopt the belief that there's always more to learn. No matter how skilled, experienced, or knowledgeable you are, assume you are a student. Stay curious. Seek out perspectives that challenge you. Surround yourself with people who force you to think differently. Second, make learning a habit. Read every day, even if it's just 10 minutes. Listen to something that expands your thinking. Ask more questions. Engage in conversations that force you to articulate your ideas. Learning doesn't have to be formal, it just has to be intentional. Third, challenge your own beliefs. Most people only seek knowledge that reinforces what they already believe. They avoid ideas that contradict their views. But true growth comes from discomfort. When you expose yourself to perspectives that challenge you, you expand your thinking. Finally, apply what you learn. Knowledge without action is useless. The Stoics believed that philosophy wasn't just for discussion, it was for practice. They studied wisdom not to sound intelligent, but to live better. Every new piece of knowledge should lead to action. If it doesn't change you, it's just noise. Think about something you've learned recently. Did you apply it, or did you just consume it and move on? The difference between those who succeed and those who stay the same isn't intelligence, it's execution. The best learners are the best doers. Your mind is limitless, but only if you train it. The choice is always yours. Stay the same or keep growing. Let life happen to you or actively shape who you become. And once you embrace this mindset, you'll realize something powerful. The journey itself is the reward. Because when you dedicate yourself to lifelong growth, every day becomes an opportunity to become something greater than you were before. Your mind is your greatest tool. It can either be your strongest ally or your greatest enemy. The way you train it determines the life you live. Every thought you reinforce, every habit you build, and every discipline you cultivate is shaping your future. You've learned how to train your mind, to break limiting beliefs, sharpen your focus, master your emotions, build resilience, fuel your brain, create your reality, unleash your potential, and commit to lifelong growth. These aren't just ideas. They are actionable steps that will transform you if you apply them. But knowledge without action is meaningless. Reading about mental discipline won't make you stronger. Understanding neuroplasticity won't reshape your brain. The real change happens when you practice, when you choose focus over distraction, when you control your emotions instead of letting them control you, when you embrace discomfort instead of avoiding it. The Stoics understood that wisdom is nothing without application. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Your power lies in your ability to train your thoughts, to shape your perspective, to master your mind. So, start today. Pick one principle and apply it. Journal your thoughts, practice mindfulness, challenge your own beliefs, strengthen your focus. Every small action compounds over time, shaping you into someone stronger, sharper, and more resilient. And now, I want to hear from you. What part of this journey resonates with you the most? How have you trained your mind to become stronger? Share your story in the comments below, because growth is a path we walk together.